What's up, everyone? Thralls of Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin Jon.
I'm Shredlord.
And we have an album review for you. So, one that came out on the 9th of April that came across as something very interesting that I definitely wanted to review was the newest one from The Lion's Daughter, Skin Show. It's not as pornographic and creepy as the album title suggests, but it is very interesting. This comes out on Season of Mist Records. This is their fourth full length. They have two other EPs. They formed in 2007 in St. Louis, Missouri, and this is described as quote unquote progressive blackened sludge. And I guess
Maybe I
a little.
don't think so. I don't think so at all, actually.
I have two of their other albums, the two that preceded this album, and again, I guess. But this is kind of a hard sound to label. This is very interesting. I would say the 80s took hold of these guys, but
80s
it was
horror
80s
cinematic.
horror. It was almost all 80s horror. We're skipping over any 80s pop and 80s, like fun movies like Goonies and shit like that. We're going straight for Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of that. Opening track, Become the Night. Right away, and you're going to get this right away through most of the tracks, is the giant synth line. And synth lines really carry this album. It really kind of just locks you in the 80s feel. The guitars and bass and drums are all kind of sludgy, but the way they're mixed is very interesting.
Well, they're really thin, but
It seems to me that maybe they recorded one track per instrument as a way to let everything kind of breathe in the same space, because the synths definitely need a lot of room because they carry a lot of this album.
Yes.
A lot of this album.
Like lead melodies are generally the synths. I mean, the guitars will come in with kind of like their own dissonant melodies and such. And, the bass is very prominent. And I think, again, that's that mix thing with just kind of a single track and everything. It is different because we listen to a lot of stuff that is multi-tracked and just fills out the
Layered.
sound.
right.
This
is
is
unlayered.
Yeah.
No layers.
This onion has been peeled. The other
Yes.
thing I'll say too is, while it heavily dabbles in the 80s synth sound, it does go into as well like some of the 70s goblin,
Yes.
like Suspiria type music and stuff like that too,
Dario
which was-
Argento stuff.
which was really, really cool to hear.
I like it. The vibe on this is really interesting, and it's very varied when it comes down to what you're getting on here. Sometimes you get like fast, aggressive songs, like Become the Night is actually kind of driven by a blast beat up until the point the chorus comes in with a giant hook. Then you got songs like Werewolf Hospital, which is almost entirely a thrashy blast beats, very similar to a band like R Noir, and the synths actually kind of take a bit of a backseat in that song. It's kind of the most metal song on here. And then you have songs that are oddly danceable. The first single I heard on here, Neon Teeth, is quite infectious. I mean, it has like this kind of straight up like 80s rocker feel, except, the vocals kind of always keep it in that sludge era, which, they're always very gruff. Occasionally a little bit more tuneful, but always gruff. And the entire time I was listening to this, I was like, man, this is one of those bands where you could play for someone who's like, you know what, I like this, but the singer, he growls too much. Can he just sing a little bit? God. And, well, being a metalhead, you run into that a lot. But everything about this sound, I think, is fiercely accessible. Even the most metal moments on here, there's enough of the poppier, dark moments. And it's not...
I feel like you could play this record at a Halloween party.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Like this would be like the dance record for the party.
Dude, take a YouTube video of horror trailers and play it, and play this alongside it, and it will fit.
I bet you that'd be cool as hell.
Actually, yeah. I
that
might do that.
really work.
And I would have to say there's some 100% 80s references that are very targeted on here. Werewolf Hospital. I mean, that definitely screams American Werewolf in London. Very much one particular scene. And Dead in Dreams, really, I mean, is it Freddy? It could be Freddy. It might be Freddy.
I know this guy.
It could be Trent Reznor as Freddy. That's the vibe I got. It could be Trent Reznor dressing up as Freddy. I also want to know what Sex Trap is. And I think Sex Trap is about Friday the 13th because, he never killed the virgins. And as soon as they ended up having coitus, the unification of the male and female genitalia resulting in the male genitalia ejaculating in the vaginal cavity, they're pretty much doomed to death.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think, the virgins were a little bit more energetic. They could run faster. They hadn't blown their load.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Oh, yeah. You dirty girl.
I know. But I don't know. That one has such a different feel. Like, this was one that I think is almost like entirely like the goth club vibe.
Yes.
It pretty much gave me the whole vibe of, going to the goth club and seeing a bunch of people in black and with black makeup, drinking cranberry juice and vodka, because that seems to be like the token goth drink. And just listening to dark but kind of danceable stuff. And this is odd because this is a metal album, but it is very danceable.
It is not a metal album.
It's a metal album.
I know they say it's a metal album.
It's a metal album.
I didn't get a lot of metal out of this album.
You know what? I got a lot of horse shit out of your mouth, young man. There's enough metal in here.
There's some cool little thrashy riffs. I'll give it that. Like Werewolf Hospital.
Yeah, no, that is a very, very metal song. It's the only one I would say that's completely driven by blast beats. The rest of the time, it's kind of more mid-tempo. And, I mean, honestly, I got to go back and listen to their previous albums because I don't remember this band being, like, this hook-laden. This is definitely more focused on, like, big, driving, like, I don't know, kind of like goth anthems or something like that. But, again, it's kind of strange because you don't have, like, a token goth singer. You don't have, like, a Pete Steele crooning. It's a guy kind of just gravelly yelling.
That honestly might have made this a little bit more interesting for me to listen to. I will say that because I don't really have many complaints listening to this album. I was really surprised and enjoyed with how much it reminded me of a time long ago,
a bygone era.
But if I will critique one thing, I would say that if there were more variety in the vocals, either in the dynamics or in the voices themselves, that might have been really, really, really cool to have, over these heavy gothic parts, maybe something that is more singy-songy,
And it's kind of a shame because, like, there's a lot of different elements that kind of come together here. I mean, you have, black metal, sludge, and all this 80s new wave goth stuff, and I don't know, it's kind of all coming together in the same club, but at least they're getting along on the dance floor. It might be the drinks. But it's a really strange hodgepodge of things.
Well, like, All Hell Is Mine is like a square dance, but with Rob Zombie.
Satan's square dance. Satan's square dance.
It's the most glum square dance ever. And don't worry if you don't like the square dance. Right next door is a drive-in playing Phantasm.
Yeah.
Because when the keys come in the back part, it just screams Phantasm.
That's during the kick drum solo.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know, like the opening has that snare roll and that kind of, again, square dance sort of feel. It reminded me a lot of Jesus Built My Hot Rod because I'm a giant Ministry fan, and that song rules only all the time, though.
Now, a track that got my attention was the title track, Skin Show. To me, it was almost like what I put, an epic final showdown in a Tokyo dream. It had a very, very cool vibe to it, almost like Freddy Krueger meets ninjas. I don't know. It was very, very cool, and then it definitely had some of the 70s Goblin Suspiria type synths in there that I spoke about earlier. So that was a song that I thought was pretty fucking cool.
I like the slow build-up on that one. That one, it takes a while for the guitars to come in. In fact, like the whole front half of it is all those Goblin synths. And then, the guitars finally come in to sort of make it rock a little bit. But I kind of just like, the creepy atmosphere that it built up right away. And
Jack Burton's coming to throw a haymaker. 'Cause you know what old Jack Burton says. It better be, honey. I pay the premiums.
And then we closed the album out with The Chemist,
which I think could be a reference to the Reanimator. Just a guess.
That synth line that opens it up is one of the catchiest parts on here, I think. I don't know. There's something about that I could listen to that on a loop, or at least in a movie. 80s horror.
I think The Chemist is bipolar, though.
Yes.
This song goes from, like, happy to sad to dark and creepy to
really
sad,
angry.
To really angry. But, like, he didn't mean to, because that's not who he is.
This isn't the real me.
You made me this way.
I'm not that kind of person.
But that is an interesting thing. Like, it takes this hard turn, and it feels like it's building up towards, more gothic dreariness, and then it just goes right into machine gun guitars and fast thrashy beats and still goth synths. it's again kind of this weird hodgepodge, but it kind of works. I just didn't like the placement of it. It just felt like well, we got to shoehorn in this fast part instead of making this an entirely long kind of doomy piece. I would have been cool with it just being the big, long, doomy song at the end. Overall, though, this was a really interesting listen, and I'm glad we went over it because, I don't know, it kind of got me, and of course, all the 80s feels, and I live for that shit. And in terms of classifying this band, man, I have no idea what to call this. Sludge wave? Maybe? Blackened sludge wave?
You know what? I still wouldn't even call it sludge.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know where the sludge comes in.
I really don't. I didn't hear sludge at all.
Dirty disco? I don't know.
Dirty disco.
There you go.
Dirty disco.
Dirty industrial disco.
All I know is I like it.
Yes.
And I think this is an interesting movement from the 2 previous albums I have. This is definitely a step at more accessibility. And I think it works for the most part. So overall, I want to give this 4 stars. I think this is a really good listen. I'm definitely going to be jamming a lot because these songs are very catchy. And this is one of the more unique things I've listened to this year that, wasn't mind-boggling, like mathy, proggy stuff. Like, this is very minimalistic. It's kind of, straightforward. But, I mean, it's catchy in its own unique way. And, I mean, I don't know. I'm struggling to describe it because it's weird, but I recommend you guys listen to it, pick it up, jam it, watch some horror movies from the 80s, of course. And, yeah, that's about it.
I'm going to give this a 3. This is the first time I've ever heard this band, so I had no idea what I was getting into. And I was never a giant fan of the industrial gothic. I just wasn't.
Shred boo this man.
Boo you!
But
Big butt.
this was entertaining in the sense that it's not just industrial gothic rock.
No.
It's like I would state like a kind of a horror disco. I don't know how to describe it. It was strange. I'm in the boat of wanting to sync this up to a bunch of 80s horror trailers and see what happens. Because I can't really speak to it from a music standpoint, other than the fact it was just weird.
I think I gotta be a whore for all those lovely things, 80s and 90s, and give it a 4 out of 5 as well. I don't really have many complaints about this album. If there were 2 complaints I can make, number 1, I already stated my facts about the vocals. And number 2, maybe the songs could have been a bit longer, because if I'm going to go driving at night in a relaxed state of mind and just kind of chill.
With the killer in the back seat.
Yeah. I don't want to have to put the damn CD or, God, that's how old I am. I don't want to put it on repeat, all right? That's what I'm trying to say.
I don't want to have to use the 8-track.
I don't want to use the repeat button to play the song 2 or 3 fucking times because it just could have been a little bit longer from the front. But really, that's all I really have to say about that. So 4 out of 5, very interesting, very good references that tugged at me specifically. So check it out. If any of that stuff piques your interest, go listen right after this video.
Oh, the great days of VHS horror. So, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. And we are also on Patreon. So, if you'd like, you can click the link below in the description and help us out there. We're going to put a bunch of content on there. We're still kind of just starting out, so we're still kind of figuring the whole thing out.
There's a couple of podcasts on there, and there's a...
Give us time.
Yeah, give us time. But,
to realize our
$3.
Yeah.
It's just $3.
And you'd be helping us out in the future with a whole bunch of different things, because we want to keep throwing tons of content your way, because we have a lot of fun doing this.
Tons of fun.
Tons of fun. And as the Patreon grows, it allows us to do more cool things like put that money into metal merch, which we give back then to you on a monthly basis, and a lot of cool stuff to help the community build and grow.
And that's something we're working on right now. So with that, we thank you very much, and we will catch you later.